Hello everybody, welcome to the Manifold channel. Today we're going to do a presentation called Know Your Limits. It's all about the new limit transforms that have appeared in the latest edition of Manifold Release 9 and Manifold Viewer. We're going to do this video using the free Manifold Viewer, which you see here in front of you. Manifold Viewer has all the features of Manifold Release 9 except that it's read-only and it's totally free. You can download it and use it however long you like for whatever purpose you like without paying anything. There's no adware, there's no request for donations, there's no registration necessary, none of that. Just download it and use it the way you see fit. What we're looking at is some data that we have imported from terrain elevation data, and it shows terrain in the vicinity of Livermore, California in a map with a Bing Street Maps background layer. I'm going to turn off the elevation layer so you can see where we are. Here's Livermore and the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. That's one of two of America's nuclear weapons labs. And up here is the 580 up to the through the pass where all the windmills are, if you know your Bay Area. Let's turn the Livermore elevation back on, and let's turn off the Bing Street Map, since now we know where we are. The lab is right about in here, so that's about that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to Alt-click on the tab here to undock this map, to move it here, and let's go to one of the locations that I've saved previously. And there, so we've kind of zoomed in so we can see the terrain where it's been colored with a palette, and it's also been hill shaded. The palette that we're using is a discrete palette. It's not a continuous interpolated one, so you can clearly see the breaks in the various terrain elevations. And what we're going to do is we're going to show something that Manifold can do, which is I'm going to double click open the Livermore elevation terrain again. I'm going to Alt click this here to undock that, so we can see the same data in two different windows. We'll see, and I'm going to resize this so it's going to be the same size as the map. And there, now we have two presentations. We have a map here that shows the Livermore elevation layer on top of a Bing Street Map layer, which we've currently turned off. And you can pan and zoom these independently. And this is the Livermore elevation layer. And let's zoom this to the same view. We can do that either by clicking on the location here or by clicking the Windows option to use the same view as the map. So now we have exactly the same view being seen in two different windows. And now what we can do is we can play in the right-hand window in the map with the transforms. And to get to that, we click on the Contents pane, Contents tab right here, like this. And in the Contents pane, we select the Transform panel. And that has a lot of transforms here. There's very, very many of them for images. So I'm going to limit these to just LIM, to those that have that sequence of letters by using the filter. And the first one we're going to use is Limit Low. And to use Limit Low, we're going to click on Limit Low. And what it does is it changes the values in this terrain to everything which is at least 0 feet above sea level, or the value of the tile. Since all this is above, well above sea level, we don't see any change. But if we change this to, say, 200, we can see we're starting to flatten the terrain here in this area. You can see that flat part here where there's some bumps. Or we can change it to, say, 400. And you can see it's flattening all the terrain. That's all the terrain now is a level of 400 or higher. Where you'd use this transform would be to, say, set the sea level in terrain elevation data set, which is a combination of bathymetry and a terrain elevation data, so that everything is flat at sea level, where you use 0. In this case, let's use about 250. This data set, if I recall correctly, is in feet, so this is about 250 feet above sea level. So you can see everything is at 250 feet, which is right here, this flat part, or above. It takes the terrain. And what we're doing here, by the way, is when we're looking at the operation of the transform, we're getting a preview. Manifold is previewing on the fly what this transform is doing. It doesn't actually change the data. We can see the data itself in this other window here, which is the same Livermore elevation, terrain elevation data. And I don't want to change the focus. Let's go back to putting 250 there. So what this window here on the left is showing is the unmodified data, and this window on the right is showing a preview of what the transform is going to do. Note that the transform not only shows the preview, it also still correctly applies the all the hill shading and all the palettes and all the rest, and we can pan and zoom this all independently, and you can see what it does. Let's go back to that location that we chose. And that's a very handy feature of Manifold, where you can do something in a transform and then pan and zoom the map independently, and the preview is still going to be working for you. Okay, so now we know what Limit Low does. Let's see what Limit High does. Limit High puts a ceiling on it. It starts with a default of 255. Let's change that to, say, 500. and you can see it's starting to flatten things up here. Let's change that to 400, flattening to about that level, and now let's change that to about 350. So what limit low does is it puts a floor on the value at the lower limit of the value. Limit high puts an upper limit on the value, in this case 350. So what does limit do? Limit simultaneously puts an upper and a lower value. And it will usually remember what's in the at least and the at most fields. So what the limit is doing right now is it's showing everything that is at least 250 feet to 350 feet. It flattens out everything at 350 feet above by writing 350 into all those pixel values, and it flattens everything at 250 and below by writing 250 into those pixel values. So on the left we can see what the terrain is, on the right we can see what the limit does. We can make this even narrower by changing this to say 325 and this to 275. Oops. Got to type all this stuff right for the video to work. So this is just a fantastic way of editing terrain elevation data, or for that matter, any other sort of raster image data, to force the data within limits that you'd like it to be. If we wanted to actually apply this data, we would click the update field, and that would modify the details here. And there I just changed the focus. Let's go back to at least 275, and here, what do we use, 325? Something like that. Cool, that's about it. We'd click the update field, and that would update the data set, and that would modify changes in this left-hand window as well, because the left-hand window is showing what is actually in that data. The right-hand one is just showing the preview based on the map. Livermore elevation, by the way, could be in any projection. It would be reprojected into this map, which we're currently using a pseudo-Mercator projection. Well, so that's the point of using the limits dialogues. They're very easy to do. Why is this called limit high and this one is called limit low instead of minimum and maximum, which is what they at one time were called? That's because minimum and maximum mean specific things in SQL and SQL processing, and typically it means find the maximum value that occurs in a set of data. And that's a very different thing than finding a maximum data level up to a certain threshold or to a certain ceiling. So that's why these are called limit high and limit low. It's all the data down to a lower limit, all the data up to an upper limit in the case of limit high, or all the data with at least within both lower limits, at least the at least value, and the upper limit of the at most value. I can't resist inflicting a joke, since the theme of this is know your limits. Where does that come from? That comes from a famous mathematics joke, which kind of goes like this. An infinite number of mathematicians walk into a bar, and the first one orders a beer. The second one orders a half a beer. The third one orders 1/4 of a beer. The fourth one 1/8 of a beer, and so on. The bartender finally says, "Okay, guys, hold on. I know what you want." And he pulls 2 beers and puts 2 beers on top of the bar. And all the mathematicians look at him and say, "Hey, what's this? For all of us, just 2 beers?" And the bartender replies, "Hey, guys, you got to know your limits." Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's been a lot of fun to do. Learn how to use these, and get yourself a copy of Manifold Viewer. It may be read-only, but you can still do a phenomenal number of things. For example, you can create this project right here by importing the data and creating that Bing background layer and all the rest of it. That's just a simple point-and-click operation. And then you can harvest these by pointing and clicking on them and doing an alt print screen and doing a screen grab, and then using the resulting images in, say, GIMP or Photoshop or whatever you want. So it's very easy to use. It's free software. It can do fantastic things, and it's fully CPU parallel, fully GPU parallel. By the way, if you ever want to participate in videos like this, most of the people that do them, including me, are all volunteers. So it's a lot of fun. A lot of Manifold users contribute projects like this and contribute videos like this. So you too can participate and join in the fun in one of the Manifold studios. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and goodbye from Manifold Land. Well, that was fun. If you want to see more, visit us at www.manifold.net. As always, Manifold delivers the world's most advanced, highest quality spatial products for GIS and DBMS at a low price that you can afford. Once again, that's manifold.net. See you soon.